The Farnborough Air Show, one of the largest in the world. Global weapons giants like BAE Systems, Lockheed Martin and Airbus come to show off their latest military hardware. Billions of dollars of civil and military deals are done here every year. Standing shoulder to shoulder with these global military giants are Israel's top weapons manufacturers, like Israel Aerospace Industries and missile makers Rafael. In the main hall, Israel's largest private weapons company, Elbit, has a huge stand. They need it to showcase their world-class drones and missiles. Despite its tiny population, Israel is the world's 9th largest weapons producer. This high-budget promo is for the trophy anti-missile system made by Israeli company Rafael. It's the kind of advanced technology Israel specialises in and makes the Israeli Merkava tank one of the best on the market.
Automatically activated only when enemy fire is sure to hit the vehicle.
Both tank and anti-missile systems sell around the world to undisclosed clients. Overall, Israel exports more than $13 billion of weapons and surveillance equipment a year. And with adverts like this for the Spike Firefly, Israeli companies hint that their products may have been battle-tested in Palestine. So how does being a major arms supplier impact Israel's diplomatic position? Could it give the country a measure of impunity when it wants to undertake its own wars? I've just got a stash of books from my publisher today. My book and other books mostly related to Palestine and guerrilla journalism, just some light reading. I'm about to do an event, a Q&A about my book, the Palestine Laboratory. The book's been quite controversial. It's a look at how the occupation of Palestine allows Israel to test weapons, which are then sold around the world. I wanted to do a book really not just about the whole concept of the arms industry, which is an interesting subject, but can be a bit dry. But what Israel is testing and selling and promoting is not just weaponry, it's an idea, it's a concept, and it's a very appealing concept to many other countries. Israel sells the idea of getting away with it. To find out how tiny Israel has managed to develop this huge military and surveillance machine, I'm heading back to Israel and Palestine. It's not really clear if I'm going to get in. I haven't been there for a few years. Wish me luck. Although I'm Jewish, I'm not a citizen of Israel, and their immigration rules say they can refuse entry to critics of the country or those who have called for boycotts, so they have multiple reasons for turning me away. My arrival was surprisingly smooth, so I'm heading straight to East Jerusalem. Israel has been occupying the West Bank since 1967 and has developed a unique system of controlling the Palestinian population, from checkpoints in the separation wall to increasingly innovative methods of surveillance. These walls are not just walls, they can listen. And they are listening to probably us right now, I suspect. It's in these population management technologies that Israel is a global leader. So I want to see how they first use it to control Palestinians before being sold around the world. I'm on my way to meet Osama, a businessman in East Jerusalem, to find out how all this impacts ordinary Palestinians.
You can see my office from this camera. Inside.
So the cameras are both looking into Damascus Gate, but also out.
In and out.
So I'm standing on a balcony literally overlooking Damascus Gate. It's Osama's office, his insurance office. And all around, behind me, over there, there's multiple surveillance towers. Right behind me, there's a camera watching me. So I'm going to watch it. Osama wants to show me the very physical reality of the occupation, the restrictions on the movement of Palestinians.
أنا وصولي إلى المكتب هذا اللي ببعد يعني قرابة 20 دقيقة بياخد مني 3 ساعات ونصف. لعدد الحواجز الموجودة هو مش حالي أنا وحدي، هو حال كل حدا يعيش خارج الجدار ويعمل داخل مدينة القدس.
His daily commute from the West Bank to Jerusalem is through the Kalandia checkpoint. Osama, how do you feel when you cross Kalandia checkpoint?
البؤس، الخوف كتير إنه أمي تتوفى وأنا بالأزمة هاي ما أقدر أوصلها.
You're crying.
I think 24 hours about my daughter, my son. If he need me, I am here. And this is traffic. I need 3 hours, 4 hours to go to help my son. You understand that?
I do. I can understand why this would make you nervous.
You can see soldier here. Any mistake, you lose your life.
And that's happened many times.
Yes.
The soldiers have the power to detain people like Osama for hours, question them, and place them in administrative detention without charge or trial.
Zeo? Should ask. That's it. Great. I can go.
Yeah.
I ask him.
It's almost like you have to ask permission to go into Jerusalem, to get back to your own city. But this physical infrastructure is just the beginning. Israel has a vision of a seamless future where technology minimises the interactions between Palestinians and the Israeli army. Israel says it's safer, but it's quite dystopic. Mona, hi. I'm meeting Palestinian digital rights campaigner Mona Steyer to find out more. Explain the growing trend within Israeli thinking of a so-called frictionless occupation.
Well, the whole automation aims to eliminate the direct interaction between the Israeli as occupying force and Palestinians as occupied people, and to make the main interaction between Palestinians and the technology. So it could create this idea that our problem is not with the occupier, but rather with the technology.
Hebron is the testing ground for many of these supposedly frictionless technologies. The city is split into 2 zones, H1 with a population of nearly 200,000. In H2, 35,000 Palestinians live under the gaze of the 750 settlers and 800 soldiers who have taken over the centre of the city. Palestinians living in H2 face the heaviest surveillance in the West Bank and the strictest travel restrictions.
هي الكاميرات على ظهر السطحي طوله أنا أنشر وأتدير وأنا مراقبة. هاي محطوطة على مكان معين هم بدهم إياه هيك. أما هاي بتلف كل حوالين كل تل رميدة، يعني وين ما أروح وين باجي كل شي بتكشفني. محطوطات غصب. جيش يطلع فوق السطح من غير ما يستأذن. شو انتو الدار داركو؟ أصبحت دار مش داري، شارع صارت. هو الكاميرات. أنا بقوم الصبح بفطر، بعمل كاسة شاي، وبعدين بلبس وبدي أطلع أشتري أغراضي. وأنا رايحة ساعين من البيت الكاميرات من ركباتني، ولما نفوت الحاجز بنطلع على الكاميرات وقول لنا هات الهوية وطلع هيك على بده يشوف بصمات العين، وبدي أرجع معي أغراضي برضه من الحاجز. لما صل بيتي كل الكاميرات بتصورني وين بفوت وين بطلع وقتاش بأرجع وقتاش بطلع. يبقى مش حرين إحنا الضمير في منطقتنا نتجول ولا نروح ولا نيجي حتى في بيوتنا.
Under the so-called frictionless occupation, these cameras are linked to artificial intelligence systems watching for what Israel deems threatening behaviour.
There's someone who watch you, who knows what you are doing, but you don't necessarily know who's watching you. Palestinians need to think about behaving at our best all the time. Sometimes you might be angry from something that happens with your family in your home or at your work, and then you might look like angry. And with the predictive policing, you never know when you would be identified as a security threat by the Israelis. So you need to fake your emotions.
ولا حدا بفوت علينا ولا بطلع، يعني حصار منطقة عسكرية مغلقة علينا.
If the frictionless occupation can't get a fixed camera on you, it can send a flying one. This was recorded just a few miles south of Hebron.
ولا بنسوي شيء ولا بنسوي شيء، احنا قاعدين بدورنا مكيفين حل عنا.
Issa Amro is a human rights activist living in H2.
This is a military post full of cameras and surveillance. And they watch us for sure now. So let's say hi. I usually say hi to them. We are in the main street in Tel Rumeda. Palestinians are not allowed to drive here. Palestinian shops are closed by military orders. And the street here is full of Israeli military surveillance. Let's see. The Palestinian kids in the window, they are caged in the house. Look, they put fences in their windows to be protected from the settler and army violence. Look, surveillance for the military is up there. And this is the surveillance of the Israeli settlers. So imagine that the Israeli settlers, they have their own systems here.
These checkpoints are where the latest frictionless technology is tested, including this AI-enabled remotely controlled gun, which fires stun grenades, tear gas, and sponge-tip bullets. It's made by Israeli company Smart Shooter. These checkpoints also boast Israel's most comprehensive data gathering tool, Wolfpack.
From 10 to 15 cameras are at the checkpoint. This is where they use Red Wolf and Blue Wolf. The Israeli military recently invented two systems, Red Wolf and Blue Wolf. Blue Wolf in the soldiers' phones. They take your photo, then they know all details about you, where you've been, where you go, what you like, what you don't like, your private things. Then there is another system, the Red Wolf, is set up in the checkpoints and in the control rooms, and it's profiling Palestinians according to their political stands.
When the soldiers scan a Palestinian's face, they get a traffic light style indication of their supposed risk.
White for Palestinians who are not doing anything about the occupation. You have yellow and you have orange. For example, I'm a human rights defender. I am red. It means check him, make his life harder. He's a suspect.
So the frictionless technology actually enables a lot more friction for some people.
They use us as simulation objects for their technology. Israeli security solution companies, they installed cameras, sensors, drones, and they tested it on us without our consent. Do they sell it? Do they use it for other research? What kind of data they collect?
It seems to be the often secret partnerships between the military and private sector that have helped Israeli companies become world leaders in their fields. In 2019, a report revealed that Israeli company AnyVision had installed turnstiles in the West Bank and was collecting movement and biometric data from the tens of thousands of Palestinians forced to use them. Early investor Microsoft pulled their funding after this was revealed. The company changed its name to Usto and says it works in 43 countries with clients including casinos, airports and schools. Another Israeli company, Visites, make behavioural recognition systems that watch CCTV feeds for any threats.
The company actually created the ability to take a real-time video stream and understand what's going on within the stream.
The company is supported by the Israeli military. It's marketed for use in cities, prisons and refugee camps around the world. We're in Abu Dis in East Jerusalem, and I'm standing next to an old but now derelict hotel owned by Palestinians. And during the Second Intifada in the early 2000s, the separation wall was built, and it's kind of surrounded now on all sides. No one can access it, the owners can't use it, the guests are not coming. But what Israel has done is on the top, they've installed surveillance cameras. The location is patrolled by police and private security 24 hours a day. Just a minute ago, we saw them move, probably to watch us. Minutes later, 4 young Israeli police officers with machine guns approached us.
So what are you...
We're just filming, explaining a documentary about the situation. This formerly Palestinian-run hotel, taken over by the military and turned into a surveillance post, could be seen as a microcosm of the occupation. But what is visible is just part of the overall picture of how the occupation surveils Palestinians. First, there is the physical infrastructure of walls and checkpoints. The checkpoints record movement data and biometric information. Then they have CCTV cameras, which are monitored by AI for perceived threats of violence. And that in turn is hooked up to databases like Red Wolf, which track everyone's political profile. But there is also a more fundamental level of surveillance, which is that most of the phone and internet system is routed through Israel.
Israel is controlling the ICT infrastructure in the occupied Palestinian territory, which means that Palestinians are not able to have safe access to the internet.
With control of basic communications infrastructure, the Israelis know every phone number and can tap any call. Israeli intelligence also have teams monitoring all the social media platforms.
Many Palestinians, basically, they don't share their political opinion online because they would be afraid of being interrogated or arrested by the Israelis.
I find it remarkable that sometimes blanket CCTV coverage analysed by artificial intelligence and backed up by biometric movement tracking just isn't enough surveillance. I'm off to meet a man who once presented such a threat to the authorities that they deployed the world's most invasive spyware on him. Antony.
Hi, Anthony.
Lovely to meet you. Ubay al-Aboudi didn't look threatening to me. He runs the Bisan Center, which campaigns for the rights of Palestinians. Do you have any idea why you were targeted?
I think it has to do with the targeting of any kind of Palestinian civil society. Israel sees us as part of establishing that there is a Palestinian people.
How did you hear that your phone had been infected by Pegasus, and why do you think that happened? You're working with Palestinian human rights organization Al-Haq, right?
I was contacted by Al-Haq in late 2021. They found that one of their employees had Pegasus on his phone. I had my device checked, and they told me that my phone was infected by Pegasus spyware. A couple of days later, the Israeli Minister of Defense, Benny Gantz, designated 6 Palestinian civil society organizations as terrorist organizations.
Including Bisan?
Including Bisan.
Pegasus is unique spyware that can access every aspect of your phone. It can take control of your camera, your microphone, and broadcast it to those controlling the software. They can see your location, access your data, and see what's on your screen, including encrypted messaging apps. Is there anything you feel like you can do, or do you ultimately feel like there's not much you can practically do?
It was explained to me by a citizen lab that once a state actor goes after any citizen or small organization, there's basically very little they can do.
Pegasus is produced by Israeli surveillance company NSO and is marketed to government agencies as a tool for fighting crime and terrorism. In 2021, an investigation revealed that around 50,000 people worldwide potentially had it on their phones, and a large number of them were journalists, lawyers, dissidents, and human rights defenders.
1, 2, 3, 4, we don't want your cyber war!
It's no accident that this spyware was developed in Israel. Much of NSO's staff is drawn from the Army's Cyber Intelligence Unit 8200. This unit is tasked with gathering intelligence from electronic communications and conducting cyber warfare against Palestinians. It's known for being highly innovative and spinning out successful cybersecurity companies like NSO. To find out how 8200 has helped Israel become a global leader in surveillance technology, I'm meeting Yaakov Perry, a former director of the Shin Bet Intelligence Agency. This one here was you dressed as an Arab in Gaza.
Yeah.
When do you think that was?
88.
1988. Can you say what you were doing?
No.
Okay.
That's 68, yeah.
Okay.
In Nablus.
Okay, so the first year after Six-Day occupation, yeah?
Yeah. Here we have all kinds of way to smuggle.
What are these hangers? What?
Hangers also.
With explosives?
Smuggle. Yeah.
How has Israel sold itself, really for decades now, as a global leader in defense and homeland security equipment?
You cannot defend yourself only by human sources. You have to use also technology in order to be on the winning side. Israel had to be very, very, very creative to find solutions that you cannot buy in the market or the around the world.
One of the innovators is Unit 8200. It's been around for many years. Right. Talk a little bit about, based on your experience, what that unit is.
We have developed a unique technology how to where to tape, whom be taped, and the ability to reach to top secrets that usually are hidden. We say that if a ruler wants to do something, it's in his mind, but he cannot do it alone. He has to share it with at least 1, 2, 3, or 4 people who are close to him. And we have developed technologies that can reach the right persons that we will tap and know. So 8200 became one of the secrets of Israeli intelligence.
I'm not asking you to reveal top secret intelligence, but give a sense, what are the kind of methods that Israel was using to try to get that intelligence?
If you want to follow a certain terrorist or a certain cell, you have to be equipped with surveillance technology that gives you the advantage to watch him without him sensing you. You have to develop ammunition which you can use in a remote control for a long distance. So sometimes the EU headquarters is in Tel Aviv and the terrorist cell is in Gaza Strip, and you want to kill somebody. You have to be very, very accurate. You have to be with the best technology that you will not be accused by killing innocent people.
We are getting hits. Send the Lanius.
Israel is a leader in remote-controlled bombing with small drones like the controversial Lanius.
Element Systems presents Lanius Search and Attack in One. New, innovative, autonomous, lethal solution.
They're part of a class of small, highly maneuverable quadcopters getting extensive use for the first time in Gaza. The high-budget promo suggests it may have been battle-tested in Palestine, and the drone is exactly what Perry is describing.
And lethality in a complex urban environment.
A remote-controlled explosive that can be put next to the target. Israel is now about the 9th or 10th biggest arms seller in the world. It depends every year. How does Israel become, for a relatively small country, one of the biggest arms sellers in the world?
Yeah, it's true that Israel is one of the biggest arms sellers. We have been also selling all the technology that can help you to deal with terrorists. I mean, the whole world is dealing with terrorist activity. So the market is big. I would say that 80% of the technology that we have developed in Israel is not top secret. It's something that you can share with other organizations, mainly security agencies and armies. For instance, the most common technology that we have developed here is the Iron Dome. And now we can sell Iron Dome to the whole world.
With a wave of its innovative wand, Rafael has developed a first-of-its-kind counter-rocket artillery mortar CRAM system with pinpoint accuracy interceptors against asymmetric threats, Iron Dome.
The Iron Dome is often used to refer to all of Israel's anti-missile interception systems. Together, they make Israel a world leader in anti-missile protection and are a showcase for Israel's weapons companies who are keen to promote how cutting-edge and innovative they are.
Arrow 3.
The Arrow system counters high-altitude ballistic missiles and is made by Israel Aerospace Industries. IAI also makes the Kafir jet, Heron drones and its own Jericho ballistic missiles. They claim to offer comprehensive solutions in all domains. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, IAI are marketing their interception systems to European countries. To find out more about Israel's military-industrial complex, I'm going to meet security and intelligence expert Yossi Melman.
Israel, from the outset, decided we have to build our own strong military-industrial complex. That realization has been always in the mind of Israel. We have to be on top of our enemies from the scientific, technological point of view.
Israel's been developing a range of new technologies and weapons. Certain kind of robotics, certain kinds of drones, quadcopters. Explain a bit about what you understand is being used.
There has been a major shift in the focus of the Israeli industries. If 30, 40 years ago, Israeli industries were still selling rifles, pistols, ammunition, nowadays they have moved to more advanced technological equipment. The logic is very positive, to try to minimize Israel's own casualties. It's safer to first move into the tunnels with a robot rather than sending your foot soldiers.
A formation of autonomous aerial and ground systems can provide unprecedented ISR capabilities to units on the tactical edge. From 3D
Legion X is the integrated combat system for controlling autonomous robotic vehicles and drones, all made by Elbit, Israel's largest private weapons producer.
Search and destroy. Legion X is maximizing.
Now worth nearly $10 billion, Elbit promotes itself as leading the world in automation and robotics. And this technical mastery is key to how Israel has governed Gaza. Israel directly occupied Gaza from 1967 to 2005, when the Israeli army and settlers withdrew, but Israel retained de facto control over the fundamentals of the territory: power, water, who could enter and leave, how far fishermen could go from the shore, and even how many calories people have to eat every day. The depth of this control was constantly updated with technology. In 2021, Defence Minister Benny Gantz launched a smart fence, stuffed with the latest tech, including tunnel detection equipment.
מציבים קיר ברזל, בטון וסנסורים, בינו לבין תושבי הדרום.
In 2021, Israel unveiled a huge amount of new technology around Gaza. They'd spent billions of dollars. They claimed that it was going to keep Israel safe, it was going to keep Palestinians essentially in Gaza. What exactly was being put in place around that time?
Well, all sorts of equipment. Israel surrounded Gaza with all these technologies: facial recognition, hacking telephones, visual intelligence from drones, reconnaissance flights, reconnaissance balloons. Israel had the phone numbers of many Hamas members, and not only Hamas members, also innocent people. And that information came from bugging and listening and observatory equipment. So Gaza was surrounded by the equipment, and Israel believed that they can control the population, and they control above all Hamas, the Domestic Security Service, Shin Bet, and the military intelligence state. They almost adored, worshipped technology.
But on October the 7th, 2023, as part of a highly coordinated offensive, Hamas drones attacked the watchtowers, disabling the CCTV and automated guns. With few soldiers on the border, the army claims they were effectively blind to what unfolded. Hamas fighters quickly overran multiple bases, which were sparsely manned and not prepared. It is said that thousands of Hamas fighters and other Palestinians broke out of Gaza by land, sea and air. It was the most deadly single day in Israel's history. Israel claims that 1,200 people were killed, nearly 800 of them civilians and most of them Israeli, and that another 250 were taken back to Gaza as hostages. According to Hamas and international organisations, these numbers have been inflated. Hamas's attack begs the question of how this multi-billion-dollar smart fence armed with radar, CCTV and surveillance drones could miss an assault that took years to plan and rehearse. So I'm on my way to see Israel Ziv, who's a former Israeli general, and he used to actually head the Gaza command for the Israeli army. And on October 7, he grabbed a gun from his home near Tel Aviv and went down to near the Gaza border to try to, as he says, kill Hamas terrorists and rescue hostages. So let's go see him. Explain what happened to you on October 7.
I've learned that I'm still good, even with the pistol. I had a chance to rescue quite a few people, you know. Some of them were hiding in the area that the Hamas controlled.
What do you think, as far as we know, went horribly wrong?
Everything. The system collapsed. I think Israel took one step too far, relying too much on technology, which in area like Gaza was very convenient to put all those visual toys, you know, and it gave the feeling that we are protected.
But maybe it wasn't the technology that failed. We know that IDF soldiers monitoring Gaza reported increased Hamas activity in the months leading up to October the 7th.
We saw their maneuvers. We saw the preparations. We have listened to the plans. We have photoed the terrorists coming. I know, but for sure, that in the Israeli Secret Service and the Israeli Army Intelligence Service, the information was there.
Before October 7th?
Before October.
Yes.
But nobody thought that it's really gonna happen.
Everybody thought, you know, the Hamas would not dare. Maybe they do a terror act, but not such an operation. The biggest failure starts from the higher level of command, which actually refuses to believe or to see it coming.
Despite the supposed failure of the technology to stop the October the 7th attack, 2024 is predicted to be the best year yet for Israel's arms industry. And while the Israeli army may have been slow to react on October the 7th, they quickly announced their intention to unleash hell on Gaza.
אנחנו מטילים מצור מוחלט על העיר עזה. אין חשמל, אין מזון, אין מים, אין דלק. הכל סגור. אנחנו נלחמים בחיות אדם ואנחנו נוהגים בהתאם.
What Israel calls the Swords of Iron War has resulted in unprecedented levels of death and destruction. I've come to one of the few places in Israel where you can see that with your own eyes. I'm in the Israeli town of Sderot, and behind me is Gaza. We're pretty much as close as we can get. All these religious Jewish people who are behind me gathered as the sun is going down. Many of them actually want to settle Gaza, occupy Gaza, build settlements in Gaza. And they're treating it almost like a family get-together. There are kids, they're having fun, they're smiling and taking photos. It's pretty surreal. Seeing Gaza here and knowing what's happened since October 7, the mass destruction, the mass killing, it's, yeah, pretty overwhelming. The war has killed more than 40,000 Palestinians and seen more than 80% of Gaza's buildings rendered unusable. It might look like random destruction, but Israel would claim these are all valid targets. And they're all generated by the latest innovation from Unit 8200, a new system powered by artificial intelligence. I've come to Tel Aviv to meet the investigative team who first revealed how AI is being used in Gaza. Some in the military felt that the systems that existed were not giving them in previous wars enough targets. Talk a little bit about what that meant practically.
In previous war, what is called in Israel the target bank was very swiftly was empty. Previously, they would produce 200, 300 targets a year, and now they can produce it in an hour.
The AI targeting systems are only possible because, as we've seen, Israel collects data on every aspect of Palestinian life. The system called the Gospel also takes in historical and geographic data to generate infrastructure locations that the AI thinks are probably linked to Hamas. These include tactical targets like military bases and tunnels. But there's another category called power targets that include residential towers and civic buildings like schools and medical centres. And Al-Shifa Hospital.
They are being hit in order to create a psychological effect on the Gazans, pushing them to go against Hamas. Of course, this didn't happen.
The Israeli army says Al-Shifa housed a Hamas command and control centre. The bombing of it resulted in over 1,000 people being killed, injured or disappeared. 25,000 people in the surrounding area were also displaced.
بكفي دمار بكفي موت بكفي استقبلنا راح عيشتنا راحت كل حاجة في حياتنا اتدمرت.
Israel never provided evidence that it had found the command and control centre. To identify individual Hamas members, Unit 8200 created Lavender. This analyses the key behaviour traits of active Hamas operatives, where they go, who they talk to, who was in their phone contacts, and then looks for anyone in Gaza with similar characteristics.
What are they talking about? What kind of words they're using? All these kind of things. You create a list of possible members of Hamas from the very low level, or even people that are not really part of the military wing. This is basically a death list. Once you are there, you are a legitimate target.
The Al Rimel neighbourhood, known as the backbone of Gaza, was hit in December 2023. The Israeli army said it was because there were Hamas operatives concealing themselves there. The entire area was devastated. What the AI generates is not facts, but targets with a statistically probable link to Hamas. Despite this, the systems have led to another change, a rise in the acceptable level of civilian deaths.
Prior to this war, a very senior Hamas commander, there was a collateral damage of, let's say, 5, maximum 10 persons. In this war, it was decided that for very junior Hamas militant, the collateral damage decided was between 15 and 20. His family and his neighbors could be killed in order to kill him. And if it's a senior Hamas militant, then the number's over 100, sometimes 300. And we know it happened.
I wanted to know what someone close to the Israeli military thought about this use of AI.
It's really kind of a big step, forward in terms of intelligence and also decision making, because it's doing the right selection and put in front of the decision maker much better and clearer picture in order to take decision.
We did, of course, ask former General Ziv about claims Israel and its AI systems were perpetrating a genocide in Gaza. His response? The standard line that the Israeli army is the most moral in the world.
So AI became a big factor in this whole component of intel, decision-making, command and control of the modern fight.
Storing surveillance on an entire population generates a vast amount of data. Enter Google and Amazon, who have been building cloud services and data farms in Israel since 2021 under a deal called Project Nimbus. After the war began, the Army's computing division said they were collecting so much data they had to move some of it onto the civilian cloud.
A200 is using a cloud service by Amazon to storage huge amount of information about people in Gaza, and that this cloud was used at least to help some of the attacks.
I've been looking at how Israel's army and tech sector benefit from conflict in Palestine, but could it also be true of other countries and multinationals? To find out more, I met with Paul Bigar, the founder of a billion-dollar tech company. Google's motto used to be "Don't be evil," and it seems like a lot of these big tech companies, Amazon, Google and others, have no issue with working with Israel. In fact, they're often expanding their contracts. Do they not care about the reputational damage?
Fundamentally, they're about making money. Getting that cloud revenue, may have started as a $600 million contract, but it is expanding massively over the years. So we are talking at the stage where they may be getting billions and possibly tens of billions of dollars from Israel via Project Nimbus. They're also setting themselves up as the de facto people to talk to when your government needs to scale. And so there's a lot more governments that are a lot larger than Israel, and Google wants to be first in line for those contracts. And more importantly, they've realized there aren't any reputational consequences for what it does.
So it's not just Israel that uses the Palestinians to test their products on, it's actually the whole world. And there's no greater arena for testing weapons than a live war. The Iron Sting is a guided mortar marketed as a precision weapon.
The Iron Sting is so precise that it can even hit a specific room without causing damage to other rooms in the same building.
This is its first use in battle. And looks like it might have damaged more than one room. At least 2 Israeli companies have made drones stable enough to handle gunfire. This is Elbert's bird of prey, seen here accompanying an armoured bulldozer into battle. Eyewitnesses in Gaza say these drones with guns are proving terrifying and deadly.
طائرة من نوع كوادكوبتر تأتي فوق سيارة البث والمكان الذي نتواجد فيه وتقوم بإطلاق النار بشكل مباشر علينا.
Arms experts have told us the last moments of the life of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar were likely filmed on one of these drones. His final act? To throw a stick at it. Talk about some of those things in Gaza that Israel has been doing militarily since October 7 and why you think that might be appealing to other nations.
everybody knows that you know, Israel is very advanced in their technology. But definitely after such a war in Gaza, when people see the demonstration in real life and it's working, it creates, you know, the needs and the understanding how crucial those things are and how critical for others to hold it and to have it.
Now Israel has physical access to Gaza, they're rolling out many of the surveillance techniques used in the West Bank. Unit 8200 is giving soldiers and drones AI-enabled surveillance technology to search for anyone linked to Hamas or other rebel groups. The system relies on technology from Coresight, an Israeli video analysis company. And the Israeli army is also using Google Photos, which can identify people from just a fraction of their face.
We are basically speaking about a system where the government, where the private sector producing and exporting the facial recognition technique. They test those technologies in Palestine, in the occupied Palestinian territory. So occupying people is profitable because it's not only you take the resources of the land. Now we are speaking about digital occupation where also your data is a new resource to develop new technologies and to start selling that worldwide to profit from oppressing other people.
But perhaps the most advanced and game-changing weapon being used in the Gaza war is the targeting of human beings by artificial intelligence.
So do you think that tools like Lavender, the Gospel, there's a decent chance of Israel could potentially be selling those tools to other militaries?
I think it's a very fair possibility that Israel will sell it. And this is, I think, one of the reasons they allowed our story to be published.
Just explain a bit what you mean by that.
You have to file any report that relates to the military censorship, and they can allow or disallow. I suspect there were people in Israel who wanted the world to know that they have very, very sophisticated AI surveillance methods that can collect and kill.
Being here again, I've seen how physical barriers and high technology divide this land in a way many human rights organisations call apartheid. I've seen how this has allowed Israel to create world-leading surveillance and arms industries who export their products globally. In the next episode, I'm heading off to some of Israel's top customers. I'll be asking if Israel is just selling its technology or if they're also exporting something else, the ideology behind the occupation of Palestine.